The atmosphere at Ibrox has taken a dramatic turn, and what was once quiet discontent has exploded into full-blown outrage. Rangers fans are no longer hiding their frustrations. They're making them known in the clearest terms possible. Chants, banners, and growing unrest have put everyone at the club on alert. From the boardroom to the dugout, the message is unmistakable. Change is no longer a request, it's a demand. And it's not just about results on the pitch. Although those haven't helped, it's about the direction the club is heading and who's steering the ship. It all came to a head following Rangers' crushing defeat at home to Hearts. 2-0 at Ibrox. That result didn't just sting. It set alarm bells ringing throughout the fanbase. Hearts are now 9 points ahead in the Scottish Premiership, and Rangers, a club of such historic dominance, find themselves slipping into crisis mode just 5 matches into the new campaign. Draws against Motherwell, Dundee, St Mirren, and a frustrating Old Firm stalemate with Celtic were already piling the pressure. Add in a humiliating Champions League playoff exit to Club Brugge, and you've got a powder keg ready to blow. And blow it did. The Union Bears, one of the most vocal and passionate supporter groups at Ibrox, have made their position clear. They've had enough. In a scathing statement, they've called for the immediate removal of manager Russell Martin and chief executive Patrick Stewart. And they're not mincing their words. According to the group, Martin has proven beyond all doubt that he's not capable of leading Rangers Football Club. The performances under his leadership have fallen far below the standards expected, and patience has completely run dry. But it doesn't stop there. The criticism aimed at Stewart is just as fierce. The Union Bears have blasted the CEO for his role in hiring Martin, labeling it a catastrophic decision and holding him entirely responsible for the current situation. They argue his refusal to take accountability, while being quick to point fingers at the supporters, shows exactly why he's unfit to remain in his role. The message to the club's new ownership is sharp and direct. Act now, or face the consequences of a support that's ready to escalate. Protests have already been planned, and unless sweeping changes are made, those actions will kick off with the next home match. The pressure is now firmly on Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Maratha, the figures behind the recent ownership change. Fans are demanding decisive action, and time is running out. The calls for change are no longer whispers in the background. They're a full-on roar echoing through the stands. The supporters feel betrayed, misled, and worst of all, ignored. And if the board chooses not to listen, the tension inside Ibrox is only going to intensify. All of this unrest is unfolding while one of Rangers' brightest midfield talents finds himself completely frozen out. Nico Raskin, last season's Player of the Year and a newly capped Belgian international, was dropped from the squad for both the clash with Celtic and the Hearts match. That decision raised eyebrows across the board. Russell Martin said Raskin needed to earn back the trust of the group, and while he's back in training, the situation is anything but resolved. For a player who just scored his first international goal earlier this month, it's baffling to see him so far removed from the squad. Raskin's best friend from Belgium, Wid Cherif, has spoken out, saying interest in the midfielder is already picking up, and it's no surprise. According to Cherif, Raskin's talent speaks for itself. They've known each other for over a decade, both coming from the same area in Belgium, and he's confident his friend won't be short of offers if he decides to walk away from Ibrox. And that might just be where this is heading. The uncertainty surrounding Raskin's future mirrors the uncertainty at the club as a whole. Once a central figure in the Rangers' midfield, now reduced to a training ground afterthought. Fans are left wondering what's going on behind the scenes. How does a player go from being one of the standouts in the squad to not even making the bench? It's part of a broader narrative that's starting to define this season. Disconnection, confusion, and a serious lack of clarity from those in charge. From questionable tactical decisions to unexplained lineup choices, and now to potential rifts within the dressing room, supporters are feeling more alienated than ever. And while Martin might still have backing from certain corners of the boardroom, it's clear he's lost the crowd. Once that happens at a club like Rangers, it's nearly impossible to turn it around. Still, not everyone's ready to throw in the towel just yet. Former Crystal Palace owner Simon Jordan has stepped into the conversation, urging fans to give Martin more time. Speaking on national radio, Jordan highlighted the need for patience, reminding listeners that the club's hierarchy saw something in Martin when they appointed him. According to Jordan, It's too soon to judge a manager after just 5 or 6 games, and the ownership group must have had compelling reasons for making that decision. He also defended Martin's handling of media pressure, suggesting he should speak more confidently about the journey he's trying to take the club on. Jordan's perspective offers a contrasting voice to the deafening criticism coming from the stands. He pointed to Rangers' earlier performances in Europe, holding their own against Panathinaikos and Victoria Plzen, and argued that it's premature to say Martin's tenure is a failure. But his comments are unlikely to change the minds of those who've already made their verdict. The problem is, football doesn't run on patience, especially not in Glasgow, and certainly not at Rangers. This is a club that demands success, not just effort, not just talk, but real, tangible progress. And right now, the team is sitting in 10th place. 10th, 4 points from a possible 15. There's even a genuine concern they could drop to the bottom of the table depending on results before they play Livingston at the end of the month. That's not just underperforming. That's a disaster. Chants calling for Martin's dismissal rang loud and clear during the Hearts match. Fans weren't just frustrated. They were angry, and more importantly, united in that anger. When the crowd turns, it becomes a force few managers can withstand. And at Rangers, where expectations are sky high and history weighs heavy, the margin for error is paper thin. So now, the club stands at a crossroads. Do the board back the man they chose, ride out the storm, and hope results start turning around? Or do they act quickly, respond to the growing pressure, and try to salvage the season before it spirals even further out of control? There's no easy answer. But one thing is clear. Doing nothing is no longer an option. Rangers fans have made their voice heard, not just with words, but with action. The countdown to the next match has already begun, and with it, the countdown to potential protests that could shake the very foundation of the club. The owners have a choice to make, and not much time to make it. Whether they decide to stand by their manager or make sweeping changes, they'll have to live with the consequences. Because right now, the eyes of Scottish football and every loyal Rangers fan are watching closely. Behind the scenes, the tension is just as palpable as it is in the stands. Inside the dressing room, questions are being asked, not just about the results, but about the direction of the team, the atmosphere in training, and the clarity, or lack of it, in Russell Martin's leadership. Players talk, staff observe, and right now, there's a sense of uncertainty hanging over Ibrox like a dark cloud. No one quite knows where this is heading, and that in itself is enough to cause serious concern. One of the biggest concerns centers around the identity of the team. What exactly is the plan on the pitch? What's the style? What's the purpose? Under Martin, Rangers have struggled to develop a coherent playing identity. The build-up is slow, the transitions are disjointed, and too often they look reactive rather than proactive. It's not just about losing matches. It's about how the team is losing them. Supporters would tolerate a bad result if they could at least see something building, some form of strategy taking shape. But right now, what they're seeing is a side lacking confidence, lacking cohesion, and in many moments, lacking fight. That lack of identity is most painfully evident in midfield, where once again Nico Raskin's absence becomes symbolic. Here's a player who was once the engine of the team, driving forward, snapping into tackles, setting the tempo. Now he's watching from the sidelines. If there's a football reason behind that, it hasn't been made clear. If it's disciplinary, then that should have been dealt with quickly. Instead, the silence from the club has only fueled speculation, adding more questions to an already long list. Fans want transparency. They want answers. And more importantly, they want to know that the decisions being made are actually in the best interest of the team. And while Russell Martin has attempted to remain composed in front of the cameras, his body language tells another story. There's a weight on his shoulders now, and it's beginning to show. Whether it's the pressure of expectations, the friction with the fan base, or perhaps even doubts creeping in from above, whatever the case, this is not the same coach who was announced in the summer with optimism and excitement. His recent interviews have been defensive, often vague, and occasionally contradictory. There's a growing feeling that the dressing room has lost faith, and if that's the case, then his position becomes more and more difficult to justify with each passing day. Meanwhile, in the boardroom, the calls for accountability are getting louder. The new ownership group, led by Kavanagh and Marath, stepped in with promises of ambition, structure, and long-term vision. But ambition without action means nothing. Supporters don't want sound bites. They want structure. They want footballing decisions that make sense. The hiring of Russell Martin is now under intense scrutiny, and so too is the decision-making process that led to it. Why was he chosen? What was the plan? Was there a strategy, or was it just a gamble based on potential? Because if there was a plan, it certainly hasn't materialized on the pitch. And that's the real frustration here. Rangers fans are not asking for miracles. They're not even demanding immediate trophies. What they're asking for is a team that competes, a team that represents the badge with pride, and a leadership group that understands what this club means to its people. Right now, they feel let down on every front. The results are poor, the performances are worse, and the messaging from the top has been non-existent. It feels rudderless. That's why the protests are starting. That's why banners are being unfurled. That's why the chants are getting louder. And let's be clear, this is not just the voice of a vocal minority. This is the collective frustration of a massive support that lives and breathes this club. Ibrox isn't just a stadium. For thousands, it's a second home. And when that home begins to crumble, the people who care the most are always the first to rise up. The Union Bears statement wasn't just a reaction to one bad result. It was the boiling point after months of disillusionment. The warnings have been there. The drop-off in performances, the stagnation in recruitment, the confusion in tactics. It's all been building to this moment. And now, everyone at the club is being forced to face reality. This isn't a moment that can be spun with PR or smoothed over with vague promises. The supporters want change, and they want it now. If not, they're prepared to take matters into their own hands, peacefully, but powerfully. The protest actions announced by the Union Bears are only the beginning. If the board doesn't act, these movements will grow. They'll be louder, more visible, and more disruptive. And if that happens, the pressure on the ownership will become unbearable. But what would change even look like? That's the next big question. Is it just about sacking Martin? Or does it go deeper? Because what we're seeing now suggests structural problems far beyond the dugout. Recruitment has been patchy, with some signings failing to live up to expectations and others barely featuring. The football department feels disjointed, and the gap between fan expectations and boardroom decisions has never felt wider. If the owners truly want to restore stability, it's going to take more than one managerial change. It will require a complete rethink of how the club is operating from top to bottom. Of course, that kind of reform takes time, but that's the one thing the current regime doesn't have. Not with Rangers sitting 10th in the table. Not with the Europa League campaign hanging in the balance. And certainly not with Celtic already showing signs of pulling away at the top of the Premiership. If there's no swift response, this season could spiral into something far worse than just disappointment. It could become a full-blown disaster, with long-term consequences for the club's stature, its finances, and its future. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Whispers are growing louder across Glasgow that Rangers have finally secured the signature of Belgian striker Divock Origi, the former Liverpool hero whose name is etched into Champions League folklore. Though no official announcement has yet been made from Ibrox, the rumor mill is running at full speed, suggesting that the Light Blues have pulled off a coup in bringing the forward to Scotland. For supporters, the very mention of Origi evokes memories of that unforgettable European night at Anfield in 2019, when his brace sent Barcelona tumbling out of the Champions League. A player who has spent his career in the spotlight, from the Premier League to Serie A, Origi now appears set to wear Rangers blue and lead the line in their relentless pursuit of domestic silverware and European respect. The move, if confirmed, will be seen as a major statement by the club. Rangers have long sought a clinical, experienced presence up front, someone with the pedigree to turn tight matches their way. Origi's track record at the highest level, combined with his knack for delivering in crucial moments, makes him an intriguing fit for Michael Beale's squad. His arrival could also ignite fresh competition among the forwards already in the dressing room, sharpening the attack as the season wears on. Yet questions linger. Origi's time in Italy with AC Milan was marked by inconsistency, and some critics wonder whether the Belgian still has the sharpness to dominate in a league famed for its physicality. but there is an undeniable sense of excitement in the air. In pubs around the city and on message boards online, fans are already imagining the Cop's cult hero turning into the Copeland Road End's new darling. Until the club makes it official, it remains speculation, and enticing rumors swirling through the footballing grapevine. But if Rangers truly have landed Divock Origi, one thing is certain. The Scottish Premiership is about to get a whole lot more interesting. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.